In today's video, we're talking about high blood pressure, a problem that millions of people suffer from, actually a problem that I dealt with myself. But I want to teach you not only how I took control of it naturally, but also 3 things that you can do today that will help you bring down your high blood pressure, along with 7 foods that have been scientifically proven to help you bring your blood pressure down. So let's go ahead and dive in. But before we do, I'm Dr. Nick Zarowski, and welcome to the channel. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because if you don't hit that notification bell, as I will always say on repeat, you will not know when a new video is released. And also, if you want to take control of your health naturally, we have a brand new website called www.drzee.tv, where you can get my whole library of natural health videos. You don't have to go to YouTube and sit through endless ads and promotions. You can literally go direct to the website and get all the information you need to see. Let's go ahead and dive in. Now, if you got high blood pressure or you're concerned about it getting high, take a bit of comfort in knowing that blood pressure is not permanent. High blood pressure today can be low blood pressure in the future. And this is something that's really important to know, because most people, you get high blood pressure, typically your doctor's gonna be the one who detects it. And as soon as he detects that you have high blood pressure, you better believe you're leaving with a medication without any information as to anything you can do. Now, today, people are a little bit more savvy. They go, "Doc, I don't wanna be on blood pressure medication." And then the doc just says, "Well, you have to be. There's no other way around it." But there's some things that you can do. Now, I had high blood pressure, and it was something that was very concerning to me, because the way that I found out I had high blood pressure is I was getting some really bad pain in my head. I was getting it in the back of my head, and I go, "What the heck is this problem?" And then it was starting to be a little bit of a concern for me, and it turned out that pressure I kept feeling at the base of my skull was in fact high blood pressure. And it was a little bit scary, but on the same hand, I knew I could take control of it. But I'll be honest, the solution that I found to my high blood pressure wasn't the solution I was expecting it to be. And we'll get into that in just a moment. So this article goes on to say, exercise, a better diet, and good sleep are things you can do almost immediately that will start to lower your blood pressure. More exercise is one of the main things that you need. It's a completely relative term, but it's true. If you're able-bodied and spending too much time sitting or lying down, create a movement schedule. Now, the thing that was really interesting about my high blood pressure is that I was exercising a ton. I was exercising really heavily. What they always say if you have high blood pressure is, well, you need to get exercising. Well, I did not have high blood pressure due to a lack of exercise. I can promise you that. And I did notice that with exercise, my blood pressure would come down for a little bit, but then it would go back up. Now, focus on moving for at least 5 minutes out of every hour during the day, in addition to 30 minutes of dedicated exercise. If you're unable to go for a 30-minute walk or dance for a half hour, split it into manageable chunks throughout the day, this article says. Eating better will also do wonders. Make sure that you're skipping sugar, and you are making sure that you're not eating a whole bunch of processed and packaged foods. Replace all the candy, get rid of that stuff, get rid of the sweets, get rid of all that stuff that's really bad for you, because it's obviously not going to serve you in any way. This article goes on to talk about diets, though. It says several diet styles can help you reduce your blood pressure without restricting calories or an entire food group. The Mediterranean diet and the DASH diets are great places to start. I'm going to fix that, make a correction. The Mediterranean diet is a good place to start, but the DASH diet I'm not a fan of. It's a diet that's rich in fruits and vegetables, which is good for that purpose, but it also is really rich in whole grains, and it's considered to be a low-fat diet too, so you would cut the fats out. So it's kind of your traditional, American Heart Association type of diet, a real garbage diet, and you want to really focus on eating a good, healthy, low-carb, moderate protein, high-fat diet. That's where you're going to get the best results. Look, if you cut the sugar out and you cut out a lot of the garbage, you're going to get really far with that alone, okay? And a lot of people tend to get high blood pressure when they start gaining a lot of weight. So if you have excess weight, get the weight off. It's so important. Exercise, do all these things, okay? This is low-hanging fruit. Now, the last thing it mentions here is that if you have poor sleep patterns, then you're going to want to focus on your quality of sleep. Now, for me, I was eating a healthy diet, I was exercising, and, well, I thought I was sleeping, okay? The fact is I wasn't sleeping, and I didn't figure this out. I didn't figure out that, I have 4 kids if you don't know this, but I didn't know at the time that between, some of the older kids and the youngest child, I didn't know that they were waking me up like 10 times a night. And I'm a very light sleeper. So what would happen is, though I would be in bed for, let's just say 8 hours, though I'd be in bed for 8 hours, I would be woken up so many times that, well, it wasn't 8 hours of sleep at all. I was only getting about 1 hour of deep sleep a night. And on top of that, you'd probably throw in about 3 hours of very light sleep. And I figured this out after I started tracking it. And this is why I actually recommend that anybody, if you're struggling with sleep or if you're struggling with, understanding your health, always wear a sleep tracker or some sort of tracker to monitor this data. I actually got a device, and it's called a BioStrap. I'll try to link one up in the description here so you could check it out if you're interested. But the reason I got the BioStrap is because not only does it actually monitor many different phases of sleep, and it's very good at doing it. The other reason I really liked the BioStrap is because it actually looks at your oxygen saturation level. And my big concern is that I potentially had sleep apnea. Well, the good news is based off of the information on this BioStrap, it was able to tell me that, well, I really didn't have sleep apnea because my oxygen saturation was never really dropping below 90 throughout the entire night. So it wasn't an area that I was concerned about. But in fact, it was the biggest concern when it came to my high blood pressure. Now, I want to talk about some of the supplements that you can take as well, because that's very important. Some of the different nutrients you can take in order to drive your blood pressure down. Because here's the thing, is that when you have high blood pressure, being that I've worked with so many people that have it, it's a different root cause for so many people. It could be your diet, right? It could be for you a lack of exercise. It could be for you a lack of sleep, but it also could be just a lot of stress and poor nutrition. It can come from so many different areas. And there's no way to cheat getting your blood pressure down. There's certain things that you can. Let's say if you have a certain or a particular condition, you can sometimes do a few things and you can just get that down almost immediately. Where high blood pressure, it takes time. It takes a long time to kind of ramp up to the place where you have high blood pressure, and it takes time to drive it back down. So if you make a whole bunch of changes, just don't think that in 2 days' time it's going to be fixed. It's probably going to take several weeks to start trending it downward, okay? But I would encourage you greatly to make sure that you're working to improve your sleep, your eating, and also making sure that you're exercising. Let's talk about some different foods that are really good for those who are suffering from high blood pressure. Now, I want you to keep in mind that when we talk about blood pressure in general, it's 120/80, okay? That's what is the ideal markers for your blood pressure. However, you have to realize is that we can't clamp any metrics, any bodily metrics at a exact number. That's something that's very important to understand, because a lot of your doctors will say 120/80, but the fact is you may be 125, you could be 130, you can kind of be all over the place. You could be 130/90. Here's the thing about me personally is my blood pressure actually tends to run a little bit high. Ever since I can remember as a kid, they would monitor me for high blood pressure problems, and it's just the way I am. Or maybe it was just white coat syndrome. You go to the doctor's office, you get a little bit nervous, and my blood pressure would go up. I mean, quite frankly, I would always get nervous because every time I went to the doctor, they would tell me, oh, your blood pressure is a little bit scary, you better watch that. So 120/80, though, is a quote-unquote ideal number. The fact is that you may be below that a little bit, you may be above that a little bit, and at the end of the day, nobody is exact. It is completely silly to go and clamp blood pressure at 120/80. We're all human, biologically the same in so many ways, but physiologically a little bit different all the time. And so we have to make sure that we don't fall in that misunderstanding that it has to be 120/80. Let's look at some of the different foods here. Because, I mean, look, I know that there's a lot of people out there that are 150% okay with taking a medication in order to manage their health problems. I am not. I am all about going the natural route in every way possible. So hit that thumbs up button if you're all for taking the natural route too. Now, the first food here is going to be beetroot. Okay, It contains a nutrient called nitrate that your body converts into nitric acid, which your body can then use to lower your blood pressure. So it's really good. It helps expand the blood vessels and offers a lot of benefits. The next are going to be cashews and almonds. We can look to kale, which has lots of different nutrients in it as well, very nutrient dense. Garlic is a great one, and I talk about garlic all the time because garlic is a good antiviral and antibacterial. It's good for lowering your blood pressure, lowering your cholesterol. Garlic is phenomenal. Make sure you're including some garlic in your diet. Garlic is, in fact, good for lowering your blood pressure as well. Now, the next thing here is going to be fish oil. Okay, fish oil is really good for many purposes, but certainly one of them is to lower your blood pressure. Now, you can take fish oil on a daily basis. I personally supplement with it on a regular. It's not only good for your blood pressure and your cholesterol and helping you sleep at night and your brain health and your neurological health, and the list goes on and on and on. It just offers so many benefits. It's one of those things that I believe everybody should take on a regular basis, and that's fish oil. Coffee and green tea, or green coffee and green tea. That's something you can do as well. Fruit juice, I wouldn't say fruit juice is a good way to lower your blood pressure. I think that's actually garbage advice. So skip that one. And then we have pineapples, which I know are scientifically proven to help lower your blood pressure. So, I mean, that's something that could work. I just wouldn't put it at the top of the list. Bananas, because they contain potassium, and then pomegranates as well. But you have to be really careful with a lot of these high sugar fruits like pineapples and bananas and pomegranates, because at the end of the day, they are pretty high in sugar. And for some people who have maybe an unstable metabolic system, it could cause your blood pressure to fluctuate quite a bit. So I wouldn't hang my hat too much on those. Now, here's some other advice that I think that will really help you when it comes to your blood pressure. First of all, if you're somebody who has electrolyte deficiency, make sure you're getting proper electrolytes. You know, they'd mentioned like bananas for potassium, but you could just take like an electrolyte powder as well. That's one way I go about it. Another way I go about it is definitely magnesium. Magnesium is so powerful for helping to bring down your blood pressure. I'm a big fan of that. So we talked about fish oil. So we're kind of just jumping into the realm of supplements now, but we talked about fish oil. You can use magnesium. You can use an electrolyte powder. You can also use olive leaf extract, which has been proven to wildly help bring down blood pressure, and other things you can do. Okay, and because those are that's the supplement realm of things. And what I'll do is I'll put links below to all the different things that I mentioned. If I mention any supplements, I'll give you resources for them and what I use. And so you can do those things. And here's a question for you, though. Here's a question I want you to comment below. Do you use any of these things I've mentioned thus far? We talked about diet, we talked about exercise, we talked about better sleep, which I think is incredibly important, and then we also talked about magnesium and fish oil. Are you using any of this stuff that we mentioned? Put in the comments below in order to help manage your blood pressure. Now, after that, the next topic I really want to make sure that we understand here is that blood pressure won't come down overnight. It takes time. It's not something that you're going to just flip a switch and see it come down. And I tell you that because I don't want to see you get frustrated with it. Blood pressure takes a long time to come up. It'll take a long time to go back down. And as I mentioned before, the reason that your blood pressure may be high is different for everybody. But the thing is that you can do is you can start making these changes. You can buy a simple blood pressure cuff from the store, and you can start monitoring your blood pressure regularly in order to do all the right things to help bring it down. Because your blood pressure, of course, getting out of control is not healthy, but your blood pressure is only a response to your poor physiological environment, your poor lifestyle, right? Because in a healthy person, the blood pressure is not high, but in a person who is lacking proper nutrition, a person who's lacking exercise, who's lacking sleep, who has a lot of stress in their life, who's, just lacking in so many ways, living a poor lifestyle, that high blood pressure is a physiological response to the environment that you are currently living in. And remember that. And so if you're somebody who is living in a stressed out, unhappy, unfulfilled environment, guess what's going to happen to your blood pressure? It's going to go really high. So you have to make sure that you don't fall into the category where you're living this way. If you're somebody who has a lot of stress, focus on bringing your stress down. Focus on avoiding caffeine as well as we talk about things you should do. Make sure that you don't do caffeine, because that's going to just help, or that's going to raise your blood pressure up. And I mention that just simply because it'll also typically cause anxiety. And if somebody who is finding themselves in a stressful environment, you don't want to increase anxiety in any way. So start doing a gratitude journal to bring your stress down. Exercise helps bring your stress down. Start doing some mindful meditation to bring your stress down. And if you start implementing all of these things that I mentioned in this video today, I'm certain that in just a bit of time, you're going to have your blood pressure where you want it to be, and you'll be able to live medication free. Be sure to check out some of the other videos on this channel.